At some point, my physical TBR stopped being exciting and started to feel like an untouched collection of too many choices. So in 2026, I decided to intentionally do something about it. Every month, I use a theme to pick a few books off of my physical TBR and make sure I read from things that I already own. For July, 4th of July, Independence Day here in America, we're looking at fireworks and flops. All right, so before we see what we're reading, let's do a numbers check-in, which I'm a little terrified about because July was my birthday month, so I definitely purchased some books. I started June with 139 books. During the month, I read 5 of those, but I added 19. Don't judge me, it was my birthday. My husband also bought me a shelf, so I had more room for more books. So this brings my total number of unread books to 153. I'm okay with it. Fireworks and flops, what does that mean? So what I'm gonna do, I made sure that all of the physical books that I own are on my Goodreads TBR, my want to be read list. I'm gonna go to my want to read shelf in Goodreads. I'm gonna sort it by overall rating, and we're gonna pick the firework, the highest rated book, and the flop, the lowest rated book. I should say potential firework and potential flop. We can discuss Goodreads ratings all we want, but it's something that I can use to sort things by. I do have a couple criteria for this. When I'm picking the book, I want to make sure that I'm not picking something that was published, I'm going to say in 2026. A lot of times new releases have skewed high ratings because the people that are going to run out and buy it, they're the people that are already interested in it. They really want to read it. I'm going to try to go with something that was not published recently, we'll say within the past 6 months, which really just means 2026, because I do feel like a lot of that data can be skewed. And then obviously, like, it's got to be something I own, so that's the point of the vlog. And then obviously, I feel like this goes without saying, if it's part of a series, I'm not going to read book 3 if I'm only on book 2, but I feel like that is pretty self-explanatory. And then just kind of a reminder, especially for this one in general, I'm going to tell myself I have to get at least to 30% of the book before I decide if I'm going to DNF, just in case the flop is a flop for a reason. Let's see what books I'm facing. I have to remember how to screen record on my phone. Let's see here. All right, my books. I have a suspicion I know what it's going to be, but like I said, I did just this morning make sure that I had all of my books in my TBR. For the most part, most of my books were on there, but there were a few that I had to add. And so I haven't looked at this list since I added the couple that I did this morning. All right, so they're sorted by title. Let's see here. I don't want number of ratings. We're gonna go with average rating because that should give me that. Okay, this looks like it's sorted by lowest. And okay, I'm pretty sure I own the last one. That one's not published. Okay, The Library at Hellebore. I'm always surprised at how low Julie Chan is Dead is on there. Okay, all right, so we've got Julie Chan is Dead at 3.44, The Library at Hellebore with 3.08, and then the last one by Rachel Howzell Hall at 2.84. I'm 99% sure I own the last one, so let me go grab that off my shelf. Yeah, it's right here. Okay. This is my potential flop. Let's reverse the order and see what my potential firework is going to be. So here we go. These are books that aren't even published yet. I just heard Emily Wilde has a book 4 that's coming out, which I'm surprised by. Okay, A Parade of Horribles. Okay, but that's a pretty recent publication. So A Parade of Horribles was just published in May. It's been out for like a month, and I do really want to read it. That is the one that I'm on. But I said I made my criteria. Okay, Trade of Blood isn't out yet. I'm really excited about that. Oh, good, that just comes out in August. Jade Legacy. Okay, that's book 3. That's what I thought. I always forget what the order of the Jade books are. So I'm not on Jade Legacy yet. Okay, Will of the Many, 4.57. Fourth Wing, 4.56. Oh, Daggerbound's the next in the series. Sunrise on the Reaping, 4.5. Okay, that was last year. Okay, This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me is this year. Okay, so Sunrise on the Reaping, 4.5. Fourth Wing, 4.56. Will of the Many, 4.57. Okay, I think. I can't believe how many ratings Fourth Wing has. Yeah, and they are, like, I would say they're, not significantly, like 0.06 and 0.0 whatever is not that big of a difference from each other, but Fourth Wing and Will of the Many are pretty close to each other, and they are a good enough distance from Sunrise on the Reaping. Okay, mathematically, we're gonna go with the Will of the Many, which I've been wanting to read. I've been putting off buying the next one because I have a tendency to just like buy them, but I'm gonna read this before I buy the next one. So this will be good. Let me go get the Will of the Many. I think I know where it is. I just did my July TBR video and these were not on it. So we're gonna squeeze these into my TBR. We'll probably prioritize them. We'll start with the flop. From what I remember, everything about this book sounds like I should love it. I'm pretty sure I went to Target to buy the special edition. I think it's even, oh yeah, it's got this like beautiful moth in here. It's got the naked hardcover, has this snake on it. We've got these cute little mushroomy sprayed edges. I feel like those, it's mushrooms and some sort of plant. It is a romantasy. I have come out of my romantasy era a little bit. It's probably good that I'm doing Will of the Many instead of Fourth Wing because I think 2 romantasies in one vlog it's a lot. I would probably hate them both. There's unnatural beasts in this world. Our main character, Kai, I think is how you say it, wakes up in the woods. She doesn't know where she is, how she got there. A little bit of amnesia is always good. And she needs to reach the certain place or else it's gonna get bad. Like she has to get there. So she ends up in this village where she runs into our love interest, and he's a skilled fighter. It sounds like he's annoying, so we have a bit of an enemies to lovers probably. He's a blacksmith, and he's gonna help her get there. On paper, this sounds like something I should want to read. However, what was the ratings on it? Let me pull it up again. 2.84. That is not good. That's probably why I've been putting it off. I'm not gonna read any of the reviews yet. I'm gonna try not to think about that as I go into reading this. We're gonna give this a try. If I remember it, yeah, Rachel Howzell Hall. This is not a debut. She has written lots of books before, so I don't know what it is about this, and we're not gonna look. We're just gonna read it. We're gonna go in blind. And then The Will of the Many, obviously much more beloved. This was at what, 4.57. This is a Roman-inspired fantasy world. The magic system is called the Will. We have our main character who was adopted, if I remember right. Vis is his name, and he's infiltrating this academy as kind of like a spy to figure out what's going on. That's kind of all I know. Obviously, this is loved. I have, however, heard that The Strength of the Fuse, the second one, has a lot of mixed reviews. But what I've heard is after you read this, you definitely want to read the next one. That's part of the reason I've been putting this off. I wanted to wait until he was farther along in the series because I hate to pick up a book and then not be able to like read the next one before I forget anything. We're gonna add these 2 behemoths to my TBR. I will do check-ins where I see fit. I will at least get to 30%. Nope, I'm not gonna think about it that way. Here's a philosophical conversation for you. Do I start with the flop or do I start with the firework? If I read this first, am I then gonna compare all of my feelings to this one? Or do I go in like starting with this, knowing that like this is like, am I gonna ever stop thinking about this because I'm reading this? Like, who knows, okay? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start with The Will of the Many, and here's my selfish reasons why. I am doing Herkyed 3.0. It technically starts July 7th. I might be able to finish this before July 7th, or I will at least be almost done with it before it starts. I can't think of a prompt without knowing anything about the book that The Will of the Many can fulfill, whereas this book has the word one in the title, and one of the prompts is numerical titles or something like that, and this would help me fulfill one of those prompts. So I'm gonna start with this so that I can try to get most of it done before Herkyed officially starts. Then I'll start reading this one. If hopefully I finish it, hopefully I don't DNF, and then I can count it towards a Herkyed prompt. If I DNF it, I can find other books with the word one in the title. That's what I'm doing. Here we go. I'm gonna get to reading, and I'll check in when I can. Like 1,000,000 degrees outside, so my daughter and I have been staying inside for the past couple days. I am doing a check-in on The Will of the Many. I put the dust jacket right here. I thought this would count. I just finished part 1, which is about a third of the way through. I think I'm gonna do thirds check-ins, a check-in every part or something like that. I am annotating. I kind of wish that I hadn't have annotated characters only because there are so many characters. They're pretty easy to keep straight, but in the back there's a glossary, there's a list of people, and then there's a list of places. I'm always apprehensive when I access those because sometimes you accidentally get spoilers by looking, like if a person is really like another person too or something like that. So if a character's name comes up, if I'm like, oh, is that person? Then I will kind of check. The glossary has come in handy. This entire book is told from our main character Vis's point of view. We know as much as Vis does. It's a futuristic world. I guess I don't know if it's futuristic because their timeline is different than our timeline. It is a world where they use something kind of like magic called will to operate machinery, basically like tools for strength. It acts very much like magic. It is essentially built like a pyramid scheme. And you can tell from different parts of the book that the world was not always like this. The world was divided. Some big thing happened, and a group of people brought everyone together under this hierarchy where people submit their will. It is a very tiered structure, very oppressive. Right away, it reminds me of an MLM. It's an MLM, a pyramid scheme, in the way that the people at the bottom, the octavi as they're called, give will to the next group of people. They give, if I remember right, they give half of their will to the Septimus. It says at the beginning. Septimus, oh, I was right. So a certain number of people give half of their will to the next group, and then a certain number of those people give half of their will to the next group, and so on and so on. They have addressed within the story how it is limiting, how when you have a city or a town or a state, it's impressive if you get up to the 5th or 4th level, because the number of people that you would need to provide will to that top tier person, it's exponential. It's not quite exponential. There is like mathematical terms for this. And I know people on the internet have done the math for this. I am not one of those people. The people on the top, they need will from like 40,000, over 40,000 people. So it's like an MLM in that there's limiting factors. You are going to run out of people essentially to get high enough up. We know from our main character, Vis, he was not originally a part of this. He did not support any of this. He still doesn't really support it. He has not submitted to whatever thing you do to start giving your will. He has never taken will from somebody. The first third of this book moves very, very quickly. I felt like this child, he's not really a child, he's a young man, went through like, it was like bam, 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 bam. He started out in a prison. A high-ranking official showed up to visit one of the prisoners. Some weird things started happening when this guy was talking to the prisoner. Then Vis goes off and he does like an underground fight ring to try to raise some money. So we kind of see a little bit of his like fighting style. And then our high-ranking official shows up at Vis's orphanage to adopt him. He quickly finds out that he wants Vis to go to the academy, which is it's a school where high-ranking senators and officials send their kids to apply to like get in the ranks to be other high-ranking officials. This particular person, this high-ranking official, wants Vis to go to the academy as a spy. So he sought him out specifically for this purpose. He watched him and observed him. Towards the end of the first third, the end of the chunk that I just read, it was basically a montage, for lack of a better word, of them preparing him for the academy. Things we know from Vis that other people in the world do not know. He is a prince of I'll say a colony, a group, a region that does not exist anymore. So it sounds like there was a time when everybody was divided and not everybody followed the hierarchy and will and all of those concepts. And there are people that are actively fighting against it. Vis becomes entangled, kind of sort of, in that group of people that is trying to fight against the hierarchy. And so he's kind of stuck in this weird place where he doesn't support the hierarchy. He's been hired by a high-ranking senator to essentially spy for the hierarchy. So he's all about that because he doesn't really support it either. But then he also has some inadvertent tanglement with this group that is actively working against the hierarchy. Meanwhile, we are learning a little bit about Vis's life before he was orphaned. We see glimpses of his parents. We know that he was highly educated because he was a prince of this region. We hear about a sister. We hear a little bit about his mother and his tutors. We don't know a whole lot about his parents or his upbringing. It kind of comes off like it's too painful to talk about. He's just trying to survive. He doesn't really want to support either side that is fighting with each other. He doesn't want to support the hierarchy. He also doesn't want to support, I believe it's Aegeus is how you say the other people. He thinks they're too violent, but he does strike me as somebody who is going to do whatever he needs to survive. He's going to do whatever he needs to get what he wants done. He goes into everything very cautiously. He's pretty good about thinking about both sides of things. He also seems to have, I don't want to call them powers. There seems to be some oddities about him. Right now, everybody keeps chalking it up to the fact that he hasn't ceded his will. I can see why this is high rated. It is very plot forward. Everything, like all of these things that I described, like happened very, very quickly. For the first couple chapters, it felt like there was like a cliffhanger at the end of every chapter. And so I could see why people go like read this very quickly. It's interesting. It is unique, this hierarchy system, this idea of will. We are learning it the same way Vis is learning it. So you're not told all of the nitty gritty. There is a bit of like telling, not showing when it comes to certain aspects of the world and the towns and the people, but we haven't really learned like the specifics of how will is given up. They talk a little bit about the numerical aspects of it and what people can do with will, but definitely not all of it because Vis doesn't even know all of it. So he makes guesses at certain things and then finds out if they're right or not, or he'll make a guess and then somebody will tell him, well, that's close, but not quite. You don't feel like totally in the dark, like I'm not confused or anything like that. The second part, he is getting ready to go to the academy. We know that like that first part ends with him going off to the academy. I'm enjoying it. There are a lot of people. There is a list of important characters in the back that you can identify if you want. It does also tell you how to pronounce their names. They are all very ancient sounding names. Like I said, his name is Vis. The man that adopts him is Alkiskor. Katanin is the city. He just saw this big event that was called the Namaki. And so there's a lot of unique terminology. Sometimes I just pop the audio on because I want to hear how they say something. That's essentially where I'm at now. I'm really enjoying it. The writing's really easy to read other than like the unique way to say names. I can see how this would appeal to a wide array of people and therefore have a high rating because of that. I'm going to keep plugging away. I will do another check-in when I get through part 2, when I get to the beginning of part 3, and then I'll see if there's anything else plot-wise that I can tell you that's not spoilery. Yeah, okay, that's all.
Something between us is for
Yesterday was Independence Day. We actually went to, well, I think it was 3 events ultimately. I don't know if it's because it's the semi-quincentennial, got that word right, or if it's because the 4th of July happened to fall on a Saturday, that different cities took advantage of the whole Friday and Saturday thing. Maybe it was a combination of both. But the place where we normally go see fireworks did a whole big thing on Friday. We didn't go to all of it. They did a drone show though, and we've kind of always wanted to see a drone show. It was very small. It wasn't like some big epic thing, but it was still really cool. And then they also did like a mini fireworks after the drone show. Actually, they were like happening simultaneously. So that was on Friday night. And then on Saturday, we did go to my daughter's friends, had a little get together, and we went to that. And then on the way home, we went to our quote unquote local fireworks. It's the same city that did the drone show, but there was their actual firework event. So we went to that. That's always a fun one to see. And so again, I tried taking footage there, so we'll see how any of it looks. Happy semi-quincentennial to anyone living in America. I always love a good fireworks show. Why not? You know, they're short, and I don't know that they're worth the traffic, but it was an experience. I like to watch my daughter watching it, is where I'm at right now. So anyway, in the will of the many, I have just made it to part 3. So because I just got to part 3, I thought it would be another good time to check in. I actually don't know percentage wise. It might be, I think it's a little over 60%. I think we're closer to like the 70 to 80% mark. I'm still really enjoying the writing. I can see why this has such a high rating. It reads very easily. This would be very accessible to a wide array of people. The end of every chapter, almost, not quite every chapter, but the end of a lot of chapters feels like it'd be really easy to go into the next chapter and just find out the next big crazy thing that our main character Vis is going to do. The bulk of part 2, he's at the school and he's making his way up the ranks in the school. The school is structured on purpose, very much like the hierarchy, where there are 7 layers. The purpose of the academy is to prepare people to become senators, knights, high-ranking officials, and so they start in 7, the students do, and then work their way up. It's one of those books that I think could be classified as either sci-fi or fantasy. Like it kind of reads like magic, but it's something that everybody has and has access to. So it's not like only special people or certain people can access it. And then they use it for technology. So that's why it almost reads sci-fi, but it's not like hard epic sci-fi. It's also not like hard epic fantasy either. So in that way, it is really accessible. There are still a lot of characters. Islington does a good job of letting you know who they are each time. Somebody that is not like a huge avid sci-fi fantasy reader could still easily like access this storyline. It does have a lot of the tropes that you find in your typical sci-fi fantasy stories about young people entering academies or entering gauntlets, but the Roman vibe to it is very unique. Like I don't feel like I'm reading a book that I've read before, but I am seeing a lot of those things that show up that people love. You know, you've got the underdog, you've got a young man who has this like, I don't want to say sordid past, bad things have happened and he's gonna come up against the man. You want him to get through it. You want the underdog to win. He's in these impossible situations. You know that he's gonna do it, but you want to read to find out how he does it. The majority of the adults in this book are using him and are terrible people. He recognizes that, so it's not like that's a shock to him. It's also not childlike where they're ridiculously mistreating him. He is very aware of how he's being used. I did buy the second one. It's coming. I got it from Book Outlet, and so I think I got it at a good deal. I'm excited to have it. Like I've been putting off buying it because I wanted to make sure, you know, I didn't want to jump on the hype train and buy the second one even though I hadn't read the first one yet. I have no idea where, like I don't know how Vis is going to get out of these situations that he's in. I have some suspicions. I started to get some inklings towards the end of this last part as to what I think is going on at the academy and with the hierarchy and with the ruins and all this stuff, but not even enough that I like want to commit to my idea, like that I even want to write it down. It's good for some like twists, and I've had a couple, oh snap, I wasn't seeing that coming, you know, like that kind of thing. So it's good at keeping you on your toes. I can see why it is a high rated book, and I am enjoying it. Okay, until I'm done. If you don't know, one of the things that separates us as humans from a lot of other animal species is our opposable thumbs. And so when you cheese grate your opposable thumb while making dinner, it causes lots of painful problems, including the fact that it's right on a knuckle, and so it's really hard to stop bleeding because you keep busting it open. I digress. I will persevere. I'm persevering to bring you my final wrap up for The Will of the Many. Okay, what an ending. And when I say ending, it is like essentially what you could call the epilogue. They call it something else. It's not called the epilogue, but that'll get ya. I just recently saw a video where somebody was talking about how non-readers, people that don't read a lot, sometimes skip prologues and epilogues, and they were explaining that that is part of the story. If you didn't read the epilogue for this, I'm curious to see what would happen when you started reading the next one. Anyway, so I'm giving this 5 stars. It continued to be very plot forward, easy to read. When I annotate, I talked about this a little bit in my annotating video, just about in every book I ever annotate, one of the categories that I make is like a favorite quotes. This was definitely not a flowery prose book. This was not a thinker book, if you will. You have to use your brain for like the names of the people and the places, but there weren't any very profound quotes that made me go, oh, well, that's a really good one. There's only like 4 or 5 in here. They were not life lessons or anything like that. I would assume that this book is very high rated because a lot of different people can read this. It has a little bit of a historical vibe, so if you're not a sci-fi fantasy person, you could read this almost as a mythology kind of book. If you are a fantasy or sci-fi person, it's got a good vibe there. Apparently it is classified as fantasy. The magic system, though, is not really talked about a whole lot. We don't 100% understand it. Mostly, I think, because our main character, Vis, wants nothing to do with it. And so he understands enough to get through school. It felt a little light, but I mean, this is like, it's a very large book. And so I'm kind of glad there wasn't like some big info dumpy, like, oh my gosh, I need to memorize all of this. I'm assuming that as the series goes on, we will find out other nooks and crannies of Will. I have some theories about what's happening, none that I necessarily even want to say because they feel very far-fetched right now. I think that's a good thing. Like, James Islington did a good job of telling me enough, getting me interested enough, but we still have a lot of questions. It just makes you want to go and read the next one. I really liked a lot of the characters. I am particularly a fan of Iden. I really like Vis, our main character. I feel like those are the characters that you can trust. Vis definitely benefited from plot armor throughout a lot of this book. I'm hoping that in the future there is some sort of explanation for why Vis is the way he is, why he is able to do all of the things that he is, other than just his backstory that you get a little bit of. But honestly, even if there's not, I'm okay with it. I was along for the ride. 5 stars, really good, really readable, nothing like over your head. You don't have to think too much, but still really good. Like, it is okay to not have to think really hard when you're reading books. Books can still be really good and not hurt your brain too much. Lots of influence from other, major tropes from other books, but I was okay with all of it. It was perfect. It's gonna be really hard to go from this to this. Now I'm gonna begin my lowest rated book. Herkyed does officially start today. It is July 7th. This will fulfill some Herkyed prompts, one of them being the hidden gems, because this is a very low rated book. It's below a 3.0. I think it's at like a 2.8 or something like that, which is really low for Goodreads. Plus it has the word 1 in it, so it would meet the number in title prompt. I already started listening to chapter 1 while I was getting ready today, and I can already see night and day a difference. I'm not going to go into things right now. I'm going to give it the 30%. This is probably a good reason that I've committed to reading 30% of a book before I give it up. So we're dropping my daughter off for an overnight sleepaway camp. She has done sleepaway camps for school before. So the Columbus Zoo has the Wilds, which are nowhere near central Ohio, but it's like an open safari educational area, and she's doing an overnight camp with some of her friends there. It is 3 nights, 4 days. So that's where she's gonna be. So I'm gonna be a little distracted and missing my kid and worried about her and not being able to communicate with her. Maybe that's not the best time to read a book that is not so good, but I'm at least gonna commit to 30%. It's hard to go into a book knowing it's bad and not just reading it for like the, okay, what's wrong with this? I'm gonna try my best. Even when I've gone into books that I went in thinking that I was gonna really enjoy, I could right away tell that I wasn't going to enjoy them. I did that with One Dark Window was the first one, and The 13th Child. Both of those I thought I was really going to enjoy. They were highly rated, and I knew pretty early on that I wasn't going to enjoy them. I finished both of them. I think this one already, I think I will DNF it at 30% because I'm distracted by all the other life things that are going on. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I'm committing to 30%. Okay, so we have to go drop her off. Don't cheese grate your thumb. It hurts a lot. That's what I got. I'll check back in when I'm either halfway. I'm gonna say I'm gonna check back in when I'm halfway. I'm not gonna assume anything else. Okay. Okay, so this is a DNF for me at 30%. I made it to 30%. I want to say it's good that I made the 30% rule, but I don't know that I needed 30%. I know I definitely didn't need 30%. Having the 30% rule enabled me to say that I really gave this book a good shot. 30% was 130, I got to here, it's like 130 some odd, yeah, 131 pages. So I feel okay giving it a review. I'm gonna start with saying these are my own thoughts. Obviously, everyone's opinions are different. I'm going to express my thoughts about this book. Maybe some of the things I say will sound interesting to you and will make you want to pick this up. Maybe some of the things I say will enable you to know to avoid this book, should you be like me and be persuaded by cute edges. That's just my disclaimer. If you have any interest in reading this, I would just skip. I'm not gonna say whether these are spoilers because I only read 30%. I'm gonna read direct quotes from it because I feel like I need some evidence. If you're concerned that I'm gonna give away vital information, then I would just use the timestamp to skip all of this, because if you wanna read this, you probably don't wanna hear my review. Okay, so that's my disclaimer. Don't come at me, please. There's not one thing. There is not just one thing that made this book. I wish I could say that, you know, it was the characters or it was the plot or it was the dialogue. It was all of them. It's not good. I could tell very early on. I wouldn't say first page, but definitely within the first chapter, I started marking really dumb lines. The first time I annotated a line that was like, what, was 8 pages in. So let's talk about dialogue. The world felt very medieval. We have thatched roofs. We have people wearing tunics and bandoliers and doing sword fighting and using horses for travel. But every single character in this book talked modern day. Like one of the side characters talked like a valley girl. Our main character had internal dialogue catchphrases that you say now. They were, not that they didn't swear in medieval times, but not this way. There is lots of cringy dialogue in this book. The main character, when she didn't know another person in the village, would, oh, I didn't even tell you what this is about yet. According to the dust jacket, Our main character, Kai, has amnesia. She wakes up, I think she wakes up in like the forest or the woods. She wakes up, she seems concussed. Somebody has stolen her clothes and is stealing her jewelry. She has a pendant that is a moth, like that comes up a lot, and that's what's being stolen. She chases after the girl and ends up in this town, this village that is putrid and decaying and smells awful, and everybody is sick and like just not doing so hot. The synopsis goes on to tell us that in this world she meets the love interest, who is the blacksmith, and she figures out she needs to get to this other part of the world. He agrees to help her, and they travel through this realm filled with monsters. I am 30% of the way through the book, and we got through the first line of the synopsis. She woke up and had amnesia and has met this blacksmith. She just at the end of the 30% figures out she needs to get to devour the Sea of Devour. He tells her it's going to be an awful journey. That is about the only part. It's like the first line. And so maybe this plot goes elsewhere. I'm sure there is more about their journey and their travels. On the dust jacket, it sounds very like enemies to lovers, like he's annoying. That is another issue with it that I'll talk about in a little bit. So yeah, that's the plot, I guess. I'll go back to my complaints. So yeah, dialogue and voice. It was very anachronistic. The dialogue of the characters kept taking me out of the story. When she didn't know other characters, before she learned the names of other people in this village, she would give them the dumbest nicknames. A lot of times in books, people get described by the way they look, and that's how you know who the other character's talking about until they learn their names. She would call them things like gorgeous or pigsty, or my favorite was Night Star Sparkle, and I was like, oh my god. And then I would be like, please hurry up and figure out their name. The nicknames that she would give characters until she knew their name would drive me insane. Never in my life have I ever looked at someone and said, oh, I'm gonna call you Night Star Sparkle. And she would use that name over and over and over again. We still call this woman, whoever she is, Night Star Sparkle until I think it was like chapter 10 or 11. Like, I'm not even joking. It was not a one moment kind of thing. It was a multiple moment kind of thing. A lot of the dialogue and internal monologue that our main character had took me out of the story. The characters and the plot, I'd say, kind of gave me whiplash. They were not rooted in any one personality. So I mentioned on the dust jacket that the blacksmith, our male love interest, our male main character, if you want to call him the main character, is described as being annoying. I never got that impression. I would not describe this as an enemies to lovers. In this one chapter, Jaden is the male love interest, Kai is our main character. I wrote on a little post-it note, I said their interactions are all over the place. Particularly he, Jaden, has in this one chapter has been protective, then insta-smutty, then really shy, then really angry with her about something really dumb, and then by the end of it, yeah, let's go do this together, is like trying to hype her up, like her hype man. There is no one personality type, and you see the same thing in our main character too, in Kai. She feels really bad about things, and then she's really angry about the way people are treating her, and then she is concerned about herself. It felt like whiplash. I was like, am I reading about different people, or am I missing something? Like, none of them felt very grounded. Like, the author couldn't make up her mind about who she wanted these characters to be. I didn't feel like any of them had very richly developed characters that I could care about. I almost felt like I was reading about 4 different people at a time in one character. Like, one character was 4 different people. The plot, I mean, I've told you the plot. Waking up with amnesia, long epic journey, battling monsters. It somehow was like way too fast. Like I said, it gave me whiplash. It was like all of a sudden we were doing this and then this and then this, and it didn't connect to an overarching plot that I cared about. I had too many questions and I didn't care about anything enough to hold on to it. I was never confused. I just never felt like anchored in the story, the same way that I never really felt grounded in any of the characters. I will say I only read 30%. So the plot could continue to develop, as the book goes on. I will say that plot is one of the things I don't feel comfortable saying too much about. I didn't get a lot of world building or a lot of explanation, but that is only the first 30%. Maybe there are some really good twists in the plot and some revelations in the plot. I do know it's at least a duology. Like, I know there's a sequel for this. I'm not going to judge the plot too much, but I do feel like the 30% that I read took me way too long to read. It almost felt like I was picking up a different book every day. is kind of the best way I can think to describe it. So let's talk about the romance. I have to read you some of these lines. This will also give you an example of the writing style. I'm really sorry. This book feels like it was written by a middle schooler. Not for middle schoolers, by a middle schooler. As a person that works with middle schoolers, I almost feel bad thinking that this is how they write. The writing in here was so bad. It doesn't feel like it was edited. This woman has written other books. I think they're thrillers, and so maybe the writing works better for thrillers. It did not work for this book, in my opinion. Okay, so let's talk about the romance. In chapter 3, we meet our love interest. Okay, so I need to set the stage. She's a girl whose clothes have been taken. She's basically in her underwear. She's being hauled off to jail. She has amnesia. She doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know her name. She has no idea how she ended up here. She just knows that somebody stole her clothes and her jewelry. She's attacked this girl. She's being hauled off to jail. She's covered in mud. She's being carried around by people that are like dying and covered in pus. Here's our love interest shows up here. By here, she says, and I quote, "If Jaden wants a personal tour of my secret garden, he needs to first fix his sister's mess." My secret garden, a personal tour of my secret garden. Okay, so Jaden is a blacksmith. So of course, later on, chapter 8, "Your rod's getting hard." He blinks and looks down. And they go back and forth like this. I think my middle schoolers could write this better. I was laughing. I think that was why I got to 30%, was because I wanted to hear what other ridiculous quips were gonna come out in this book. There's a whole scene where they go back and forth, quip for quip, to see who can do it. And they're all the dumbest, most cheesy pickup line innuendos ever. But I think what got me the most was like, girl, you are essentially naked. You have no idea who you are. You don't know where you're going. And the first thing that you want to do is talk about the sass and ass of the blacks. I was just like, oh my God, I could not believe it. There was absolutely no chemistry or anything. It was ridiculous. And it definitely didn't feel like an enemies to lovers at any point. And so then last but not least, I believe that the author was trying to use, I don't know if it's necessarily considered alliteration. I think this might be. When an author uses repetition to make a point, which I sometimes do this when I'm angry or something like that. And I'm like, you want to see this? I'll show you this. You know, like that. Okay, maybe I don't actually sound like that when I'm angry. Sometimes repetition has a place. I felt like there were times when options were put in for a sentence and an editor just forgot to tell her to delete some of the other options. The repetition was ridiculous. I'm going to give you some examples of the repetition. She's being hauled off to jail. The girl that stole her clothes, that is the reason that she attacked, that's the reason she's getting arrested, comes to the jail and is like she's like, I don't want to press charges, because she knows the jail is awful. So she's trying to rescue our main character from the jail. She gets her away from the jail so she's not arrested. Olivia is her name. And Olivia is taking Kai back to her house. And she's like, you can sleep in the cottage. You can sleep over there. And then our main character, here's one paragraph. There is where a sharp, pointy, dangerous, blah, blah, blah. There is where an anvil lives, blah, blah, blah. There is where all things smell burned and sulfurous, blah, blah, blah. There is where a water wheel, blah, blah. Every single sentence in this paragraph starts with the word there. I get it. I know you're trying to make a point. I don't think you need to do it 5 times. Here's another one. Here's a dream that she's having. The earth splits open between us and a great beast, a wolf or a bear or a man. Make up your mind. A wolf, a bear, and a man do not look alike. I feel like she put those 3 options in there and somebody was supposed to tell her to pick one. I don't understand why it could be a wolf, a bear, or a man. Pick an option. Here's another one. For the first time since landing here, I feel a solid sense of identity, direction, purpose. Pick one. Again, it was just examples like that where this needed some hardcore editing, which this is a Red Tower book. I did peek through some reviews and a lot of people claim that Red Tower books go more for beauty and less on the editing. This definitely felt like it needed a lot more editing. I think you get my point. I knew right away that this particular writing style wasn't going to be for me, that regardless of what the plot was, there was no way that I could get. I actually felt like I was proud of myself for getting to 30% for this, in all honesty. If any of you have read this and you enjoyed this, I am happy for you. I hate tearing down other people's work because I know that a lot of work and effort goes into creating art. I do want to give my opinions though to persuade others away from, or maybe towards, I don't know, maybe I convinced you to read it. Maybe this sounds right up your alley. I'm gonna leave a review. I don't think I'm gonna leave any stars. I think I'm gonna be star free because that is something I try to live by, is if I DNF, I'm not going to give stars. I think in my review, I might give it stars in the review, but not actually leave them in the calculated total. I can definitely rate this on the writing style and on the character, maybe not character development. There are aspects of this that I think I could at least give a rating for and just not put it in the actual calculated star rating. It already has a low enough rating. It doesn't need me to bring it down even more. Yeah, so this is a DNF. It's actually my first DNF of this whole series of Read Down My TBR. So this will be going in my giveaway pile. So back to my philosophical question. I don't think it would have mattered whether I read that one first or Will of the Many first. I actually like that I read The Will of the Many first. I was kind of afraid if I spent too much time or effort on this book that it could have slumped me, essentially. Reading The Will of the Many gave me faith in books. And so I could go into that knowing that there were other things on the horizon. I had a good solid amount of time and a really good book. I don't think it would have mattered which order I read them in. I tend to buy my books online, whether that be through Book Outlet or I do go to Half Price Books. I occasionally go to Barnes & Noble. The problem when I go into physical bookstores is that I end up buying way more than I want. So I try to do things online like Blackwell's, Thrift Books, Book Outlet, those types of stores, because then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get these and I'm not like distracted by all of the other books. Now the problem with that is I can't really read pages. I know a lot of days now you do get previews, you could do Kindle previews. This is a book that if I had read a couple pages before I bought it, I think I would have known right away to not buy it. And the killer is I did buy this in a store. I didn't buy this online. I physically walked into a store and picked this book up and bought it. So shame on me. This is my stupid tax is what this is. I am glad I was forced to give it the time that I said I would. I don't regret giving it away. I don't want to say I don't regret purchasing it. I can't do anything about purchasing it. I gave it a shot. I'm gonna move on. But I have learned that I think I need to, especially for books where I don't know a lot, I think I need to give them a couple pages before I decide to buy it. And now I'm like looking through some of my books and I'm like, oh my God, I probably have some more like this that I should have given them a couple pages before I purchased them. That's future Genevieve's problem though. So I definitely had some fireworks. I can see now why The Will of the Many is rated as high as it is. Definitely had a flop. I can see why the last one was rated as low as it was. I still don't think that high ratings on Goodreads necessarily mean that a book is good. It means that it is a book that is good for some people. It doesn't always mean it's a book that's good for me, but I do tend to trust lower ratings. I still think I would have tried it. There's some other books that I keep looking at and I'm like, oh, I still want to try that, but I'm at least going to try a couple pages before I buy it, or I'll try it from the library. That never hurts either. That's it for July's Read Down My TBR. If you have any thoughts about either of the books that I read in this vlog, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you're feeling shy, why don't you leave me a firework emoji so we can hope that all of our books in the future will be fireworks and we can reduce our number of flops. If you enjoyed this video and this series, make sure you give me a like. Next month in August, I'll be trying to read as much as I can before the school year starts. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure you subscribe. And until then, happy reading.